Welcome back to another edition of MTE's Mobile Education Series, powered by the Rad Company. Today we have a great presenter, Dave Streen. You've seen him before, and he's going to talk to you about a little of PDR. That's pretty damn repetitive. Going to teach us some exercises and how to stay fit. But before we get there, I want to play a quick advertisement from the Rad Company. As always, huge thank you to them for helping make this possible. So Dave, I'm going to bring you in. I'm really looking forward to the session. Take it away.
Hey, Sheldon, thanks so much for having me. So we're going to talk, like Sheldon said, about pretty damn repetitive. So a lot of what we do is really the same motions over and over and over, thousands of times in a day, and that adds up. So I want to ask you guys a question or have you think about this. If your income went to zero tomorrow, what would that look like? What would it look like for you, your family, or anybody that depends on you? How would you pay your bills and all that? And it's a scary question, and it's one that I faced myself. So if you haven't heard the story already, I was working hail down in Australia one year, and I just blew my shoulder out. Couldn't do any more. Tried doing the switch, to the other arm and keep going and everything. And long story short is I was causing so much damage in my neck and shoulder and everything that I had to just lay my tools down, got through the car that I was on. And actually, that was the next storm that I actually had to lay my tools down and say, I can't push anymore, And so just, and I don't wish that on anybody, but it's something to think about. And a lot of times nobody thinks about injury or preventing injuries until they have one. And then it's a lot of times too late. So what I'm going to talk about a little bit is how to avoid some of that stuff. And it's really simple, and you probably already know the answers, but I'm going to say them again anyway. First off, I'm not a doctor. I have no medical training or anything like that. So I'm going to point you and give you a shove in the right direction and tell you, go learn the techniques and proper things from your doctor or from YouTube or wherever you want to go for a source. But I basically just want to open your eyes to it, that when we're pushing, we're doing a lot of repetitive stuff. So let's dive right into it. The first thing I want to point out is professional athletes, okay? They don't go out on the basketball court or the football field or whatever, just cold, like, hey, I just watched a movie and, laid around and now I'm ready. Let's go, play the Super Bowl or whatever. No, they stretch, they warm up, sometimes for hours before a game. We should be doing the same thing, not to those extremes, but you'd be surprised what 5 minutes of warming up can do for your muscles, your body, your posture, and everything else. And if avoiding injury is not enough incentive, it actually will make you more money. When you're limber and you're loose and you're chomping at the bit and raring to go, you're going to fly through whatever dents are in front of you, or detailing cars, whatever physical activities in front of you. If you go in there stretched and fluid and ready to go, you're going to perform much better than just going in there cold, which is what I did myself and just about everybody else does. So again, take something out of their deal. And I've got a few things here. These are what I found for my shoulder. This is just like a cheap elastic band thing. They do sell nicer ones with straps and handles or whatever. But I'll literally just tie these around a post in a body shop or slam them in a car door. And you can just do some simple exercises that will loosen your shoulders up and whatnot. So it's just a matter of getting the blood flowing and getting loosened up just like before any athletic event you would. So that's just something really important. Also take breaks, rest your muscles when you're working, especially bad damage or really repetitive damage like hail. Take frequent breaks. If you watch some of the guys that do, like at MTE, they do the Dent Olympics, and we taught a training on that. One of the things we taught the guys was take a break, walk away from that dent and have a few sips of water and rest your eyes, rest your muscles and everything else, then go right back at it. It goes back to that, if I had an hour to chop down that tree, I'd spend a half hour sharpening my saw. That's what we want to do. And again, there's a million stretches. Pay attention to, your neck, your shoulders, get loosened up that way, your posture, your back, and that. One of the best things you can do. Almost all back pain comes from tight hamstrings. If you just throw your foot up on something and lean over towards it, it's effortless, and it'll stretch out that hamstring for you, and you'll avoid the majority of back pains and injuries and everything else just by having your hamstrings stretched. So if you take nothing else from this whole presentation, do that. Throw your leg up on a bar stool or, on a truck bed, whatever. Just stretch that hamstring out. So let's see. I want to go into grips and actual body mechanics a little bit. So my big thing that I like to educate guys on that I learned the hard way is change your grips. So let me actually start. So back in my day when we were pushing, we all had a hail rod similar to this, probably longer and different tip, whatever. But our arm would be nicely down by the side, and we'd simply be doing this motion to push the dents out. Everything was nicely at rest, and we were just using our tricep extensions. You can flip over and use a totally different muscle group just by changing hand on the grip. But what I did wrong was I used a tool that's no longer on the market anymore called the Dent Hog, I believe. And it was basically a shaft like this. So instead of having my arm nice and comfortable and pushing like I always did, you'd grab this rod up like this and you'd be leveraging like this. Well, as you can see, my shoulder's out of whack, and I don't know if you can see it, but it just puts so much pressure on the joint and in the wrong way. Your shoulder's supposed to be sitting down here naturally at ease, and I was cranking it up like this and then exerting force all day, pushing really bad hail damage. So that's something to be aware of, is how you're positioned when you're pushing. And then I want to point out real quick, Todd Zimmerman taught me this trick, that most of us, picture like a nice handle on the end of this rod. Most of us will push with the rod ended where, like I showed you, we're used to grabbing the handle. Okay, so we're used to that rod ending where we are, and we want to be the proper distance to the dents, so that's the length rod we choose. What Todd taught me was, instead of that being the case where it's right there at the end, you want that thing way back behind you, okay? And then he even sells a counterweight that you put on there that I screaming from the rooftops that everybody should own that if they have this Carbon Tech rod, which is what I push with. The reason for that counterweight and you wanting it going 2-3 feet behind you is this. It's the rod. So if you can see, if I'm grabbing the handle, the rod's kind of balanced, I'm doing 100% of the work. As I slide that rod behind me, what does it want to do? The rod wants to push up into the roof. So the rod's actually going to do the most work. So especially with that counterweight, then what Todd does, and I don't know if I can show you this, but you basically push hail with 2 fingers, because you're basically just lifting the rod a little bit and controlling it. You're not cranking with all your muscles and tendons and everything else. So that's why you want that rod going way behind you, and again, have that counterweight on it. So that's for hail and large roof damage, stuff like that you're going to be pushing on. Another thing I wanted to point out is take advantage of the ergonomic stuff that the guys are putting out there in the industry. Dentcraft made these handles, and I rarely see guys using them, and they're fantastic. And I've never seen anybody do what I do, is I'll put one on each side of the handle, and they're cheap and they just screw in like that. But now, instead of pushing, let me take them out again. So let's say that I'm pushing like this on a door. I'm twisting that wrist constantly, okay? And you can see just in my forearm what that's doing, and I don't even have pressure on it. So let me just show you, again, putting both of these in there. Now watch what I can do. Instead of grabbing it in the middle and doing all that twisting, I'll grab one of the handles. I don't know if you can see that. And then see the other one goes all the way down to my elbow. Now I'm doing this, okay? And you can just see I'm using my whole arm. There's no twisting of my wrist or anything like that. You just leverage off your own forearm, if you will. And the amount of power you're going to get is like exponential. Like I can literally bend this rod in a twisting motion where I could never do that like this. So just take advantage of some of those ergonomic things that are out there. And again, going back to switching grips. So a lot of guys will use some sort of brace tool. This is a nice tequila tool from Anson, made by A1. A lot of us will just grab the handle and do something like this with it. And we're doing that same twisting motion with our tendons and muscles and everything the whole time. So and do that 80% of the time, but mix it up. Put your hand on top and do this kind of a motion, okay? Put your hand underneath and grab it and do this kind of a motion. If you switch that up 5-10% of the time at least, given that those muscles and tendons and everything a chance to breathe and rejuvenate a little bit and rest, is going to make all the difference. So that's a little bit about into the grips. And again, take advantage, look at all these different companies. You know, I make the control punch, and it was basically everybody grips a knockdown and you're squeezing your fingers to hold it straight, and then you're hitting it and all that vibration's going down into your fingers and everything. So that's where I invented the control punch, you know, so it's ergonomic. All the pressure goes around your fingers and you've got more control. You can even do this kind of stuff. So, and then the benefit of it is you can switch your grips. You can do what I call the Spider-Man or the Rockstar grip, the original one that I designed it for. Guys will do it like this. So whatever you're comfortable with, but you're switching that grip. So again, it's different muscles and different muscle memory and everything else. So again, just research what's out there and look at all these different websites and all these great tool manufacturers and see what they're putting out there for ergonomics, and start paying attention to it before you're injured. Okay. Again, once you're injured, now you're looking at physical therapy, which is expensive and it's time away from work. Maybe you're looking at surgery. What does that cost? You know, so a lot of lost work and a lot of expensive bills and stuff. So if you can avoid that, and I'm talking to you, especially you young guys, us old farts know, because we've learned it and been through it, unfortunately, a lot of the times, or we know somebody that has. So we're a little more aware of it. But when you're in your 20s and 30s and you're invincible, you don't think about this kind of stuff. Trust me, we've all been there. Okay. Start paying attention to it now, and it's going to treat you better in the long run. So there's enough of my lecture on that. Same thing with hail. I'm a hail guy, and I can tell you that for years, I sit around in the off season and I enjoy my off season. I'm out on the boat. I'm doing whatever I want to do. I'm not pushing dents. I'm not thinking about dents. And then I get the call, throw all the tools in the truck. They're all ready to go, drive someplace. Usually I'll sit in the car and drive, you know, back in the day, it'd be Wisconsin down to Texas or something like that, you know. So nothing like spending, 15 hours in the car straight and then getting out and setting up your tools and expecting your body to go like a son of a bitch at full strength for 15, 16-hour days, whatever you're putting in. It's just not fair to expect your body to bounce back and jump into it like that. So again, do more stuff in the off season to keep in good shape and everything, and know that in your mind, hey, I'm not going into this full strength. I'm going into this with a little bit of gut or a little bit out of shape or whatever. I've maybe been doing something active, but you haven't been pushing dents. You haven't been doing this all day, every day. Your muscles will remember it really fast and you'll get back into it, but it's your chance at injury or hurting yourself or whatever are exponentially higher if that's your strategy of 0 to 100 with, no warming up, no prep or anything like that. So especially your first week or two on the hail trail, be conscious of that. Do more stretching, do more warming up than you normally would. And again, I would say I'm 2 or 3 minutes of warming up before starting work is all it really takes, but it's critical. And again, you'll make more money if you do that. I guarantee you will. Same thing with huge smashes. I can't tell you how many times, and myself included, we're working on this huge train wreck and we just don't want to give it up. We want to get it till it's done. And we'll sit there and wrestle it and wrestle and wrestle it. And we're pushing through fatigue and our eyes are burning and we're not seeing things right. And we don't step back and go and take a little break. And again, 30 seconds, a minute, walk around the shop, let your eyes get, reaccustomed to things other than microscopic orange peel and whatever. You'll go back to that dent and I guarantee you'll finish it sooner if you take breaks than if you work straight through. So again, just something to be cognizant of and aware of. Let's see. Okay, now we're going to talk about a different strategy. So let's picture I took this ball off and replaced it with a bowling ball, okay? A nice big one too, a 14-pound bowling ball, okay? If I'm holding this stick straight up and down, it's probably not too hard. I could probably hold that for a long time. But the further out I tip it, what's going to happen? It gets heavier and heavier, right? And it gets to a point where I'd be, fighting to get it back upright, okay? The reason I use that analogy is the human head is 8.25% of our body weight. So you can do the math, take whatever you weigh, I weigh 170, so 8.25% of that is 14 pounds. That's why I said 14 pounds. My head weighs 14 pounds, okay? So I'm going to try and show you posture. So if I'm like this, it's like I'm holding that stick straight up. What most of us start doing is craning our necks down because we're looking down at the dents, and we're looking down at our phones, we're looking down at our computers, we're always looking down, to the point that humans are actually losing the curvature of their neck that's been there, for thousands of years or whatever. But again, we're always looking down. So be aware of that. And again, that looking down, it tightens and pulls on all those muscles in our upper back and our neck and everything, and just tremendous amount of strain. And then we're cranking on top of that. Bad news. Okay. So just be aware of your posture and correct it as you're doing your dents. We all fall into that rut where we're so focused, we're going to get in there and do what we need to do to fix those dents. Just be aware of it and reset. Okay. Rest, do some stretches, get that loosened back up in there and stuff. Again, there's no worse pain than when your neck's screwed up. So take it from me. Don't learn it the hard way. So let's see. A few more things I want to touch on is breathing. Okay. We get so focused in on the dents that a lot of us will hold our breath, especially if we're fighting something or whatever. Breathe. Okay. Some nice deep breaths, calm breathing and everything, and relaxing. And again, we tend to sit there and crank dents so fast and so furiously that our shoulders start to tense up throughout the day, and we start shallowing our breathing and everything else. So again, just be aware of that and stop, take some deep breaths and reset. Can't stress that enough. Just stop mid pushing and just reset, relax and say, and trust me, I know it. I get it. There's cars following it. Maybe you got to drive across town to save this body shop guy on a Friday afternoon, whatever. Like I understand it. There's reasons that we feel like we can't take a break, and we tend to build that into our mental game. And so even when we can take a break, we don't, because we think we're leaving money on the table or something. Again, just like I said at the beginning, getting hurt, you can't help anybody. Okay. I went almost a decade without being able to push. And now, because of all this stuff that I've been taught and learned and applied, I'm able to push again and chase hail again, and which I love. I got my favorite thing to do in the world is back, and it's lucrative and it's fantastic. And I won't risk it again. Like, I work shorter hours. I try and find the right damage. I take breaks, all the stuff that I'm preaching. It's because it's worked for me. Okay. That's why I'm sharing it. Yeah, that's a lot of what I want to do. So to recap, stretch and warm up, make sure you change your grips a lot, pay attention to what these tool makers are putting out there to help us. I can tell you again, I'm an idiot. Like, I'd be like, well, I don't need a longer whale tail. If I've got this one in my hand, I can just stick my arm way out and still get to that dent that's way out there. Well, I'm not doing my body any favors. It's much better to toss this one down and grab the longer one and stay in that comfortable state where my body's at ease and everything. Something I didn't mention was when I was first going to physical therapy in order to avoid surgery, I showed the physical therapist. I said, yeah, typically we'll get down on the side of a car. We'll be like this. We'll have our tools. We've got to have our eyes parallel. So we're doing one of these, and I showed him, and he says, stop. He goes, find a different way to make a living. And I said, what do you mean? He said, the body's not meant to be in that position, let alone stay in that position for an extended period of times and exert force. He said it's just not equipped for that. And so that should be, I share that with you to scare you a little bit and give an eye opener. Like, the body mechanics aren't there. If you study the skeletal and muscular and tendons and all that stuff, you'll see that it's super strong and it's durable and it bounces back incredible. I mean, it's a miracle, but don't abuse that gift. Take care of your body, take care of it. So that starts, I always say, from the ground up. The shoes you wear make all the difference. We're usually standing on concrete, whatever you're working, whether it's an 8-hour day or a 14 or 16-hour day, whatever. We're standing on concrete, we're walking on concrete, we're jumping up and down step ladders and benches, whatever it takes to fix the dents. Start with good shoes. Okay, good shoes. Good knee pads. Okay. I know so many dent guys that can hardly walk now because our knees are shot because we we were lazy and we just kneel on the concrete. We're not down there that long and it doesn't hurt. So do it, you know, over time that adds up. So yeah, good shoes, good knee pads, stuff like that. I prefer a knee pad too. If you look, when I'm sitting in this chair right now, let's say that's a creeper seat or something like that. If I'm working a quarter panel, and you can't really see because the chair's not high enough, but I'd be hunched over and in an awkward position working that quarter panel. Whereas if I pull my knee pad out and see, just like I'm showing you, I don't have a knee pad here, but I'm kneeling on my tile. But now I'm at the right height and I'm everything's in line and square, and it's just a much better position. So I'll grab a knee pad over a creeper seat any day. But again, just be aware of those positions that you're putting your body in, and especially when you're in there for a long period of time in an awkward position, take breaks, hit it from the other angles. One of my favorite things to do, you know, switch sides. The dent's going to come out cleaner and you're going to use different muscles and everything else. And that's what it's all about. As long as we're doing those few things, warm up and stretch, stay relaxed and breathe, be conscious of our posture. And when we're in bad posture, take breaks and get in good posture and reset, that kind of stuff. So another thing I like to do is, and it's funny, I was working a storm in North Carolina in 2019 and for my buddy Brian, and the body mechanics in there, the body shop guys and the mechanics in there had a chin-up bar in there. And I wasn't doing a lot of chin-ups. I'm not in great shape, but I'd go and just hang off it. And it would pull and stretch and reset my shoulders and everything else. And so I'd laugh and I'd take all these breaks and I'd be like, I've had it. I'm going to hang myself, you know, and that was the big joke. And I just go and hang off that chin-up bar. And I've actually got one right off my kitchen now. It's not even like out in the garage or in the workout room. Like I want that thing where I can stretch on it all the time, because that one piece of equipment fixes my neck and shoulder better than anything else I've found. So I'm not sure how this platform works, but does anybody have any questions? I think you guys can type it there, but I don't think I think I'm only seeing YouTube feed. But maybe Sheldon's around. Can help with that.
So
there we go. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't look like we have any questions yet, but if you guys are watching, feel free to ask them. But I did want to ask you, so do you do stretches after the fact as well when you're done?
Great question. Yes, definitely. So I try and start my day with stretches. I do more stretches and warm up before I'm going to do something physical, whether it be dense or anything else, you know, gardening or whatever, you know, digging a hole, whatever. And then again, as soon as I finish working, very important to stretch, you know, kind of think of it like running. I'm not a runner. You know, I always say, if you see me running, you should run too. Something's wrong. But if I was going to go run, I would stretch, I'd warm up, get loose. I'd go run. And then as soon as I was done running, I would stretch and cool down and that kind of thing. So it's the same thing with work. And then again, I stretch, you know, before bed again. So when I wake up, when I go to bed, and then anytime I'm going to do something physical, I stretch before and after it. And I'm not perfect. I don't do it all the time. And I'm the first to admit that when I'm in pain, I'm real religious about it. And when the pain goes away, I skip it, you know. So
yeah,
don't do
exactly what you mean.
Like I think it's human nature, you know. It's not that we're dumb or we don't know. Like I said at the beginning, most of us know all this stuff, but we don't do it. So I'm here to point it out and rub a little salt in the injury or whatever. Yeah,
so it sounds like when you started pushing it, they didn't have all these ergonomic tools or anything yet.
No.
So that's a pretty new thing coming out for the guys.
Yeah. Yep. And that's why I said, like, stay on top of it. There's so much cool stuff coming out. I wish I had it in front of me. Well, actually, I'll just mention that stuff I didn't mention. The ratchet handles are fantastic for getting your wrists and body and everything in the right position to where you have that most power. And again, it's, grab the rod and use, let's see if I can show you. If you use your forearm for the twisting power versus twisting with the grip, well, I don't see a lot of guys doing that kind of stuff. It takes all the pressure. And I know Dent Wizard's fantastic at training their guys. They do this weird thing where they look backwards on the panel. And I was just listening to Kevin Andrews talk about that on a video the other day. It's worth learning that. It's not how I learned, and I really struggle with it, but I'm actually going to try and get better at doing that because it's way better on your back, neck, and everything else, and it puts you in a better position to actually fix the dent. So even though it's awkward at first, I think it's worth going through struggle of getting to add that to your repertoire.
So. That's pretty cool. And the industry is still evolving and coming up with new stuff.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool to see.
And also, if you can ever, I think it's also attributed to Dent Wizard. If you can get a straight push on it versus a twisting push on it, way better for you. So,
awesome. Well, it doesn't look like, well, I'll give people one more minute to ask questions, but why don't you tell us, just in case people don't know, about what you have going on in about 2 weeks, I think it is.
Awesome. So we have what's it's called the Dent Repair Expo and More, and the acronym is DREAM. And that's going to be, don't even really know how to describe it well. I always give more confusion than answers, but it's basically going to be like an awesome big website where everybody can see and interact with each other when the exhibitors are on the floor. And so just like you and I can see each other right now and interact, and I was able to demo some tools and show you some things versus just trying to describe them on a website. We're going to be able to do a lot of that. We've got just an amazing lineup of speakers that are all going to be sharing different things than you don't hear anywhere else. So I'm really, really super proud of them and stuff. But it's basically just going to be a big online party, if you will, where people can check out new tools and interact with each other. There's going to be a lot of speed networking and different ways to meet different people and see old friends and that sort of thing. They can find out more information at dentrepair.com. And, I hope everybody gets their tickets there, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys there, Sheldon. And
yep, we'll be there for sure.
Yep. And it's just like you asked me today, you're like, oh, I'm going to be traveling. Does it work on a phone? Yeah, it works on a phone. Like, so desktop, tablet, phone, whatever, you're basically just going to go to dentrepair.com and log in, and you're going to be in the show. And there's going to be all kinds of fun stuff. Again, we're going to have the first ever all PDR drinking game. And you don't have to drink alcohol or anything else, but you're going to want to be a part of it. It's going to be a lot of fun and something really different we came up with. So
very cool.
Like you guys, sponsors and exhibitors, and it's just coming together. Really, really cool.
Awesome. Well, how will people get in contact with you if they have more questions?
So they can email through the website or info@dentrepair.com. Or my personal email is always dave@edgytools.com. And you can reach me there as well. And now I'm always on Facebook Messenger, Dave Streen. So awesome.
Great. Well, thanks again for doing this today. I think this was awesome. I mean, everyone should be able to take something away from this. And I think what you said is very true. The young guys, even people my age, are just, I'm invincible, I'll be fine. But every day I wake up with a new ache and pain, it seems. So
I always love, I think I've done this 4 or 5 times at MTE, which is pretty much the only place I really am able to share this knowledge. And thank you guys so much for the platform and ability to do that. And I always laugh because it's a little awkward for me to talk about, as you can imagine. But and my friends, trust me, they don't let me off the hook. Oh, Dave, you got to go do your Jane Fonda speech or whatever. I mean, they rib me a lot. But it's every year, like during the show, a couple days after the presentation or whatever, 1 or 2 guys come up and say, Dave, you've changed my life. You helped me avoid surgery last year, and I'm able to, guys will say, I wasn't able to work on aluminum anymore. Now I can again. And it's like, I'd rather be teased by 100 and know that I helped one guy that.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks again. And everyone. Oh, hold on. Gotcha. Yeah. 1 second. Yeah. There we go.
So that's the 15-year anniversary of MTE, 21 years.
Wow.
And, here's my 20-year shirt. So it shows you. I came across that the other day, and I was like, I'm going to bring that on and show Sheldon and everybody. So
very cool. Really cool. All right. Well, thanks again. I'll talk to you soon at Dream.
Thank you all so much for watching. See you guys at Dream.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. Next week, we have How to Go from Mobile to Fixed Operations, presented by John Cornelia from the American Detail Corporation. So tune in here on YouTube or Facebook next Thursday.